Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Boyhood. And this movie came out in 2014 and it's directed by Richard Linklater. And it is a film that's pretty infamous for being a film that was 12 years in the making. And ultimately, what this movie is, it's just focusing on a kid and watching him grow up. And the kid's name is Mason, or the character's name is Mason. I liked parts of this movie. I did like how the movie kind of opened up and the light and look of the film just had a certain feel to it. It was like an early 2000s movie at the beginning of it. I was like, okay, this feels kind of fun, and it was something that I kind of liked. But as the movie progressed, I was kind of enjoying it less and less. Not because it was poorly made, but rather I was just struggling to connect with it, and the movie kind of lost me after 10, 15 minutes into it because I just realized I'm not really connecting with anything in this movie, and it's almost 3 hours long. And I get it. You want to show this kid growing up and meeting all these obstacles that occur in his life. But what I do feel as though this movie kind of missed as an opportunity is to like make these characters really interesting or like flesh them out so that they really feel like memorable characters. But unfortunately, this movie just doesn't really do that. Instead, just about every male character, with the exception of a few, are just rude, obnoxious, horrible characters that I just can't really stand, and just tries to make them as unlikable as possible. And I will give the movie some credit at the very least. And none of the characters that felt cartoonish or over the top. They all felt like real people at the very least. Like these characters felt authentic in that sense at the very least. And the acting from the adults was really good as well. And I especially love the scene. So with Ethan Hawke, I think he's the best part of the movie. And whenever he comes on screen, that's like a highlight of the movie for me. And pretty much what I'm going to remember this movie for primarily is just for Ethan Hawke and the scenes that we get with him, because I think he has the most interesting character. But going back to my criticism with just about every male character, they all kind of just feel like the same character, and they're not all that distinguishable from the previous unlikable character that we ran into. Like, it just felt weird, and in ways, I guess this movie is kind of like this film's attempt at trying to be Barry Lyndon in a couple ways. But where that movie succeeded, in my mind, is that all the characters felt like different characters, and even the ones that just show up and leave, they're still memorable and very distinct, and they impact the character in a way that really affects the story in terms of where it goes, and you feel it, and because of how things are presented, you genuinely care about what's going on. Whereas in this movie, it just feels like things are happening, and all that's really being progressed is just time, and that's about it. And I get that's in ways kind of the point of the movie. It's not really about much of anything. It's not trying to have a story. It's just focusing on this kid's childhood and him being like a 6-year-old growing up all the way up to a kid who goes off to college. And that's pretty much the whole movie. And how he grows into that and meeting all these different characters that kind of help him get him to where he is by the end of the movie. But I just didn't feel as though it was earned or like properly developed in a way that was interesting to watch. I just found most of these characters to be hollow and difficult to get into because the movie didn't really give them proper time to develop them all that well. Like, the movie was definitely very well made, and it didn't feel as though it was thrown together. It definitely felt like it was someone who really took their time to develop the story and make it interesting. Like, I don't feel as though Richard Linklater just threw together this whole story. I don't feel as though that's the case. However, I do feel as though it was just a huge swing and a miss in a way, where it just only worked for me at a couple moments. Like, the best part of this movie for me, outside of Ethan Hawke, would be the last 10 minutes, and that's really when this movie started to get interesting for me. I was like, oh, we're like slowing things down and just getting his perspective and his views on the world and what he thinks and everything that's built him up to where he is now. Like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, it kind of just starts and ends there in the last 10 minutes, sadly. There were also things in this movie that were trying to be highlighted to show off, hey, you remember this? You remember Dragon Ball Z? You remember the Nintendo Wii, Game Boy, etc., etc., etc.? Remember all these things from your childhood? Well, they're going to show close-ups of these things and really make you think of those things. Because remember, you were a kid once. Remember? And every time it just came across as kind of annoying. And I'll be talking about a movie in my next video that does things like that, but it doesn't give you a close-up. It's kind of just there, and if you notice it, it's kind of cool. If you don't notice it, the movie still works, and it doesn't get dragged down because of it, because it's not trying to highlight, oh, isn't this, like, nostalgic for you? I never once got that feeling in the movie that I'm going to talk about in my next video. This movie also got pretty repetitive very quickly. I just felt as though I was watching the same few scenes over and over and over again. Like, nothing was really being progressed. I don't really care about where things are going. And it wasn't, like, offensively bad. It was just, like, me passively watching it. I was like, okay, that was a scene that was fine. That didn't really connect with me. Next scene. Same thing happened. Next scene. Again and again and again. Until we get to the end. And this movie wasn't exactly... And this movie, I'll say this much about it, it wasn't worse than I was expecting it to be. It wasn't better either. It was pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I wasn't really expecting much, and that's pretty much what I got out of it. And the last 10 minutes bumped it up a rating for me, like 1 point, but that's about all I really got out of the movie. And I'll say this much, I was introduced to this movie like years and years and years ago. Not saying that I watched it then, but I was aware of its existence when it came out. And I remember seeing Screen Junkie's Honest trailer for it, and I remember that being pretty funny, and I rewatched that just for nostalgia, and it's still fun to watch. And that's about all I have to say about Boyhood. It was fine. Don't need to see it again, and there are other Richard Linklater movies that I prefer, like School of Rock I think is better, and even Hitman, which came out recently, I like that much better. The Before trilogy, those are great, and well, I haven't seen Before Midnight yet, but Sunrise and Sunset, those are fantastic, and they're just movies that connect with me a lot more. So if you want to watch this movie, it's currently on Netflix. It's not a terrible film. It's just a film that I didn't really get much out of, sadly. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Boyhood a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Boyhood, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for When Harry Met Sally. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching, and have a great day.